You are worried because you think this moment is out of control, because you believe something is slipping away, because your heart feels responsible for fixing what only Allah can arrange. But IbnArabi taught a truth that shakes the soul. The moment worry enters the heart, trust has stepped aside. What if your delay is protection? What if your confusion is guidance? What if Allah is rearranging your life in ways your fear cannot yet see? You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not off path. You are being guided quietly, precisely, mercifully. Tonight, you will learn 7 powerful lessons from IbnArabi that will remove fear from your heart and return it to trust. Lessons that will show you why Allah's plan begins exactly where your worry ends. So slow your breath, quiet your mind, and listen carefully, because what you are about to hear may be the reminder your soul has been waiting for. IbnArabi taught that worry is not caused by problems, circumstances, or uncertainty. Worry is born the moment the heart forgets who is truly in control. When the heart remembers Allah, it rests. When it forgets Allah, it panics. Worry appears when you unconsciously assume that you must manage outcomes. Your future, your provision, your safety, your relationships. The mind starts calculating endlessly, replaying worst-case scenarios, fearing what has not yet happened. But Ibani reminds us of a powerful truth. The heart was never created to carry destiny. That burden belongs to Allah alone. The ego worries because it wants control. The soul finds peace because it knows surrender. The moment remembrance returns, when the heart truly recognizes Allah as Allah, the one who perfectly manages all affairs, worry begins to dissolve. Not because problems vanish, but because fear cannot survive in a heart anchored in divine trust. Worry is not strength. Worry is not responsibility. Worry is a sign that the heart has drifted from certainty. And remembrance is the return. When you remember Allah, you remember this. Nothing reaches you without His permission. Nothing leaves you without His wisdom. Nothing delays without His mercy. The cure for worry is not answers. It is returning the heart to Allah. And when the heart returns, peace follows naturally. IbnArabi taught that fear often disguises itself as danger, when in reality, it may be direction. The heart assumes that what hurts is blocking it, but divine wisdom works differently. Many of the things you fear, loss, delay, rejection, uncertainty, are not punishments. They are filters. Allah removes paths that would have exhausted your soul. He delays outcomes that would have arrived too early. He closes doors not to deprive you, but to protect you from a version of life you were not meant to carry. Fear says this is the end. Trust says this is a turning. Ibani reminds us that Allah's guidance is not always gentle. Sometimes it comes disguised as disappointment, so that attachment can be broken. Sometimes it comes as confusion, so the ego loosens its grip. What feels like loss to the mind may be alignment for the soul. Worry assumes Allah has forgotten you. Faith knows Allah is repositioning you. If what you feared did not happen, it was mercy. If what you hoped for was delayed, it was wisdom. If what you relied on collapsed, it was redirection. Do not rush to label pain as failure. Do not mistake delay for abandonment. What you fear today may be the very thing guiding you toward peace tomorrow. And when trust replaces fear, the heart finally understands. Allah never blocks the way He clears it. IbnArabi taught that many people misunderstand trust in Allah. They think letting go means giving up, becoming passive, or abandoning effort. In truth, letting go is one of the strongest spiritual acts a heart can perform. Tawakkul is not laziness. It is effort without obsession. You still work. You still plan. You still take responsibility. But you release the illusion that outcomes belong to you. Where He tightens the grip of the ego, trust loosens it. When you cling too tightly to results, fear multiplies. Every delay feels like danger. Every obstacle feels personal. But IbnArabi reminds us that the heart was not designed to carry certainty about the future. It was designed to carry faith. True tawakkul means you move forward, while accepting that Allah may move you sideways. You prepare while knowing Allah may change the direction. You strive while remaining open to a wiser outcome than the one you imagined. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop controlling. And when control is released, something powerful happens. The heart becomes light. The mind becomes calm. The soul becomes aligned. Allah does not ask you to abandon effort. He asks you to abandon anxiety, because what is meant for you will arrive, not through force but through surrender. And when you finally let go, you realize tawakkul was never weakness. It was strength in its purest form. IbnArabi revealed a truth that unsettles the ego, but liberates the soul. Sometimes Allah is not absent. He is waiting. Waiting for what? Waiting for you to stop interfering. Interference does not always look like action. Sometimes it looks like constant worry, endless overthinking, rewriting the future in your mind again and again, trying to force timing, people, outcomes, and answers. The ego believes control equals safety, but IbnArabi teaches that control often blocks divine flow. When the heart insists on knowing how, when, and why, it unknowingly resists wisdom that cannot yet be understood. Allah's plan is not delayed because it is weak. It is delayed because the soul is not aligned. Many prayers are answered the moment the heart stops micromanaging destiny. You ask Allah for guidance, yet panic when guidance doesn't arrive in the shape you expected. You ask Allah for change, yet resist discomfort when change begins. You ask Allah for peace yet cling to habits that keep fear alive. This is interference. Allah works in silence, reshapes circumstances quietly. He rearranged paths invisibly. But worry creates noise, and noise drowns out trust. IbnArabi explains that when the servant finally releases the need to supervise the unseen, divine movement accelerates. Doors begin to open naturally. Situations soften without force. People shift without confrontation. What felt stuck starts flowing again, not because you tried harder, but because you stepped back. Sometimes allow delays because the heart is still gripping too tightly. Sometimes the answer is late because surrender is incomplete. Sometimes the blessing waits because worry keeps interrupting trust. This is why exhaustion often precedes clarity. When you reach the point where you say, "I can't carry this anymore," the ego collapses and Allah's support becomes visible. The heart finally learns. I was never meant to manage outcomes. I fail. I was never meant to predict destiny. I was meant to trust. And in that moment, the unseen begins to work openly. Allah does not need your anxiety to accomplish His plan. He needs your availability. Availability comes when the heart is quiet, when the mind stops fighting uncertainty, when the soul accepts that Allah sees what it cannot. This is not abandonment. This is alignment. And when interference ends, guidance begins. IbnArabi taught that fear becomes destructive when it takes residence in the heart. The heart was never designed to live in a state of constant tension, anticipation, and anxiety. That condition is not awareness. It is misplacement. The heart has one natural home: remembrance of Allah. When the heart is removed from that home, it searches desperately for safety elsewhere. People, money, control, certainty, approval. For a moment, these things may distract the pain, but they never heal it. Instead, they deepen the exhaustion. This is why fear feels so heavy. You were not created to wake up every day bracing for impact. You were not created to constantly guard yourself against imagined futures. You are not created to live with your heart clenched in worry. IbnArabi explains that when fear dominates the heart, it is not because life is dangerous. It is because the heart has been separated from remembrance. Fear multiplies when Allah is distant in awareness, even if He is never distant in reality. Notice this. The more the heart remembers Allah, the calmer it becomes even in hardship. The more it forgets Allah, the more restless it becomes even in comfort. This is why some people with nothing are at peace, while others with everything are terrified of losing it. Fear grows when the heart believes it must protect itself. Peace arrives when the heart realizes it is already protected. The heart does not need constant reassurance from the world. It needs anchoring in the divine. IbnArabi emphasized that remembrance is not only words on the tongue, it is awareness in the heart. It is living with the understanding that Allah sees you, knows you, and surrounds you whether you feel it or not. When remembrance returns, fear loses authority, not because problems disappear, but because they no longer dominate the inner world. The heart becomes spacious, breath becomes deeper, patience becomes natural, fear is loud, urgent, and exhausting. Remembrance is quiet, steady, and sustaining. Allah did not create the heart to carry constant fear. He created it to carry trust, and when the heart returns to its purpose, something profound happens. Life does not become easier, but the soul becomes stronger. This is the secret. IbnArabi revealed, peace is not found by fixing the world. Peace is found by returning the heart to Allah, and when the heart is where it belongs, fear can no longer rule it. IbnArabi taught a reality so deep that if it truly settles in the heart, fear collapses at its root. What is written for you is already on its way, and what is not written for you was never meant to stay. Most people live with a quiet panic they rarely name, a fear that time is running out, that they are falling behind, that someone else is getting what should have been theirs. That one wrong decision has ruined everything. This fear slowly poisons the heart. IbnArabi explains that this fear exists only because the heart secretly believes destiny is fragile, dependent on perfect timing, flawless choices, and constant vigilance. But divine decree is not delicate. It does not depend on your anxiety to survive. Destiny is stronger than your mistakes, stronger than your delays, stronger than your detours, stronger even than your doubts. You may hesitate when you should act. You may act when you should wait. You may walk away from what was meant for you, and still it will return when the moment is right. Because destiny does not move according to panic. It moves according to wisdom. This is why rushing exhausts the soul. This is why comparison steals peace. This is why desperation weakens faith. When you believe you must chase what is meant for you, life becomes a race. You begin forcing conversations, holding on to people who are meant to leave, staying in places Allah has already removed His barakah from. You confuse effort with fear-driven urgency. IbnArabi warned against this inner state. He taught that what is meant for you does not need to be hunted. It needs to be received, and reception requires readiness. Sometimes Allah delays, not because He is withholding, but because He is protecting you from receiving a blessing before your heart is wide enough to carry it, protecting you from a gift that would corrupt you if it arrived too early, protecting you from attachment before maturity. If what you desire arrived at the wrong time, it could destroy your peace. If what you ask for came without preparation, it could break your character. If what you want appeared before humility entered your heart, it could distance you from Allah instead of drawing you closer. This is why delay is often mercy wearing the disguise of disappointment. The soul must be shaped before the gift arrives. The ego must soften before trust deepens. The heart must empty before it can be filled. Think honestly about your own life. How many things did you once beg Allah for only to later realize they would have harmed you? How many closed doors felt unbearable until time revealed protection? How many delays saved you from paths that looked beautiful but would have crushed your spirit? Nothing was random. Nothing was careless. Nothing was late. Worry says, "What if I miss my chance?" Faith answers, "What is mine is patient." IbnArabi taught that true contentment does not come from getting everything you want. It comes from knowing that nothing meant for you can ever pass you by. This understanding transforms how you move through life. You stop clinging. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop competing with other people's timelines. You stop panicking over what has not yet arrived. You still work. You still strive. You still show up, but you no longer scramble. You move with dignity instead of desperation, with effort instead of fear, with trust instead of tension. And something remarkable happens when the heart rests in this certainty. Life begins to meet you halfway because desperation repels calm invites it. Allah does not misplace destinies. He delivers them precisely to the second, to the circumstance, to the exact state of the heart required to receive them without harm. What is meant for you is not lost. It is not delayed out of neglect. It is not stolen by another. It is being guarded. Guarded from arriving before you are ready. Guarded from breaking you instead of blessing you. Guarded until the soul can say, "Now I understand." And when it finally arrives, you will look back at every delay, every closed door, every moment of fear, and realize a quiet truth. Nothing was missed. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was ever out of Allah's control. Everything came at the only moment it ever could. IbnArabi taught that worry is not just emotional noise. It is misalignment. It is the soul pushing against the current of divine wisdom, trying to row harder while Allah is steering elsewhere. And the moment worry ends, something subtle but powerful happens. Alignment begins. Alignment does not mean life suddenly becomes easy. It means life begins to make sense. When worry dominates the heart, everything feels scattered. Decisions feel heavy. Signs feel confusing. Even prayers feel rushed and desperate. The heart is loud, demanding certainty, insisting on guarantees Allah never promised. But when worry releases its grip, the heart quiets, and in that quiet, guidance becomes audible. IbnArabi explained that Allah is always guiding, but guidance requires receptivity. A clenched heart cannot receive. A fearful mind cannot discern. Worry crowds the inner space where clarity appears. The moment you stop worrying, you stop fighting reality. And the moment you stop fighting reality, you start moving with it. This is alignment. You begin to notice that certain things no longer require force. Conversations unfold naturally. Decisions feel lighter. Paths open without pressure. You no longer chase signs. You recognize them. You no longer beg for certainty. You walk with trust. Alignment does not announce itself loudly. It feels like relief, like breathing again, like realizing you don't need to rush. IbnArabi taught that surrender is not resignation. It is cooperation with the divine. When you stop trying to control what is beyond you, you become fully present to what is within your reach. Your actions gain precision. Your intentions purify. Your effort becomes effective instead of frantic. Worry scatters energy. Trust concentrates it. This is why aligned people appear calm even in chaos. It is not because they have fewer problems. It is because their hearts are anchored. They are no longer pulled in 10 directions by fear. They are rooted, and when the heart is rooted, life flows around it without uprooting it. Alignment also brings discernment. You begin to sense when something is not meant for you, not with panic, but with peace. You stop forcing doors that resist. You stop romanticizing what drains you. You stop calling anxiety intuition. When worry ends, honesty begins. You admit when something no longer fits. You release what no longer grows. You walk away without resentment. You wait without despair. IbnArabi emphasized that Allah's plan does not require you to be anxious. It requires you to be available. Available to listen. Available to change. Available to trust. And availability only appears when the heart is no longer occupied by fear. This is why true alignment feels effortless. Even when it demands courage, you are no longer dragging yourself forward. You are being drawn. The soul recognizes its direction. The heart recognizes its Lord. The mind stops demanding explanations, and something profound settles in you. I am where I need to be. I am being guided. I am not late. I am not lost. When worry ends, alignment begins, not because life obeys you, but because you stop resisting Allah. And in that surrender, everything finds its place. Not immediately, not dramatically, but precisely. This is the final wisdom IbnArabi leaves us with. You were never meant to carry fear and faith at the same time. When fear exits, faith expands. And when faith expands, Allah's plan unfolds naturally. This is where peace lives. If your heart feels lighter right now, it is not because your problems disappeared. It is because you remembered who is in control. You were never meant to carry the weight of the future. You were never meant to solve destiny with worry. You were meant to trust the one who sees what you cannot release, what you have been gripping too tightly. Place it back in Allah's hands where it always belonged. If this message reached you, it was not by accident. Allah guided you here at the exact moment your heart needed it. Write "I trust Allah" in the comments as a declaration not for others, but for yourself. Share this reminder with someone who is silently struggling, and subscribe to Soulful Way for more wisdom that calms the mind and strengthens the heart. Remember this, always. Allah's plan begins where your worry ends. Go forward in peace.